So right away I thought, okay, the wheels are starting to turn. In many cases, they don't just let you buy the glass, you got to buy the whole thing. So the first thing I thought about, is it manual or is it electric? Because I knew if it was electric, it was going to cost 2 or 3 times as much as the manual. Well, fortunately, it was manual. So I thought, well, I've got to, maybe I can check and see if I can just get the glass before I turn this car back in. Because I know they're going to charge me $500 for this. So we were going down, left the city, and driving through the countryside, and all of a sudden, in the middle of Spain, I saw this huge junkyard. Huge junkyard. With every conceivable model in the world in this junkyard. Pulled in there, and the guy was so nice. They're all so very nice and helpful. I said, I've got this model of car. It's a Fiat. He said, oh, Fiat. We don't have any Fiats out there. And there are not a lot of Fiats in Spain. I think that even the Spaniards figured out that even the French make better cars than the Italians. So there's not a lot of Fiats there. If you want good cars, you go to Japan or Germany. If you want good shoes, you go to Italy. So they figured that out. So the guy says, well, no Fiats out here, but he said, at the next town, 10 miles up, he said, there's an auto parts store, and they may have it for you there. So just on a whim, I pulled in, and it was right on the way. I said, well, 2 bits of bad news. And it took me a while to figure this out in Spanish, but 2 bits of bad news. Number 1, we don't have it, and number 2, it's all one part. You got to buy the whole thing. So I thought, oh, well, it's the cost of doing business. It's going to cost me $500. I'll turn the car back in and let it go. And that in itself was a good deal for me because I don't let things go easily. When I get on a mission to do something, I just follow it through relentlessly. But I decided I'm not going to let this go. It's not going to ruin my vacation. So we went on, headed toward Cordoba, which was our last stop. And we drive into the city in Cordoba. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, appears this huge Fiat sign. It's a Fiat dealer. It's a Fiat dealer. So I pulled in there and I thought, I'm going to see if they have this mirror. And I went up to the parts counter, just like being here at Gill Toyota, And the guy says, well, it is one part, and we have to order, we don't have it. But we can order the whole thing. And wouldn't you know, the whole part only cost about $100. It almost restored my faith in Fiats. But he said, we don't have it, we can order it. And he said, I could have it here tomorrow by 10 in the morning. And knowing how Spaniards operate in terms of proficiency and timeliness, I thought, right, 10 o'clock in the morning. But I said, you know what, go ahead and get it. I said, we're leaving town tomorrow at noon, and I'll stop by. And he said, oh, we can put it in. And I thought, well, we'll see. But I did come back. We came back at noon. The part was there. They put the part in 20 minutes. The whole job cost $125, part and all. Unbelievable. And I guess the reason that was important to me, and we had a lot of little faith-building occurrences on our trip this summer. It was kind of a faith-building exercise. But the reason that little incident stuck with me is, as I was saying, when we cooperate in the challenge, the universe conspires to meet our needs. Somehow things are provided. Somehow things work out. Somehow we're taken care of. And our faith is expanded. In whom or what do we really put our trust? And they can be little things like a mirror, or they can be big things. When you're told by your doctor that you have an aneurysm, or you're told by your doctor that your spouse has 6 months to live. In whom or what do you put your trust? When you're told by your husband that he's leaving you for a younger woman, When you're told by the officer that your son is in jail or your daughter's on drugs, when you've been told by your financial planner that your portfolio just shrunk by 40%, or that you're being sued for $40 million, in whom or what do you trust? Do you trust in a good lawyer? You trust in a good stockbroker? You trust in a good doctor? You trust in a good psychotherapist? Certainly it's good to have confidence in a good person. And certainly it's vital that we trust ourselves. To quote the Gospel of Bob Dylan, if there ain't nobody you can trust, trust yourself. Trust yourself. Trust good people. But beyond that, I think there's a deeper level of trust. There's a deep trust which can displace the fear which debilitates us, that cripples us. A deep trust which brings stability and peace and even confidence in the midst of all the craziness and upheaval. I know very little about the stock market or the financial system, but I know this. A lot of the health of the financial system depends on confidence. And a lot of our spiritual health depends on the confidence that we find in something greater than ourselves, something outside our own resources, our own plans, our own insurance policies. Somebody once said, "You want to make God laugh? Tell God your plans." There's a deeper place, a deeper trust, a resting place, a place to stand when you're in that particular grief and you wonder if there's any reason to continue living. When you're in that particular pain and you wonder if you'll ever get any relief. When you're in a pit of depression so deep you wonder if you'll ever dig your way out. Or a cloud of confusion so dense you wonder if you'll ever see your way through. There's a deeper place, a place to stand. And I think about that text out of the gospel. Come to me, all you are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest for your souls. I will give you rest. And the late theologian Elton Trueblood once translated that version, not I will give you rest, but I will give you a place to stand, a point of leverage. Point of leverage. Archimedes once said, give me a lever and I will move the world. I will give you a place to stand. I will give you a point of leverage in the midst of the confusion and pain and grief. A reason to keep on living. I heard this yesterday. I was at a fundraiser for a group called Compassionate Friends, who has a ministry for people, parents, grandparents, siblings who have lost a child, lost a brother, lost a daughter, son, granddaughter, grandson. It's a group that I hope we can network with here. And to see people who have decided to keep on living, who have found a place to stand, often having to do with that deep faith. And this is not a naive retreat into the supernatural, not a passive resignation. It is a God-given strength that comes from that quiet confidence, And that happens to be one of my favorite Old Testament verses, Isaiah 30:15. In quietness and trust is my strength.